Polly the polynomial penguin talking to you about multiplying binomials and polynomials. Now here's a question. What did one penguin say to the other penguin when they left for work in the morning? Have a nice day!
Yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about is foiling. F.o.i.l. stands for first, outer, inner, last. Now, some of you guys have probably heard this before, but this is how you are going to multiply together two binomials. So when multiplying two binomials together, you're going to multiply the first terms together. Boom. So what is x times x? That gives you x squared. Then you're going to multiply the outer terms together. So that would be x times 3. So what's x times 3? That's going to be 3x. Since it's positive, you write plus 3x. Next, we multiply the inner terms together. So that would be just 2 times the x. So what's 2 times x? That's 2x. Again, since it's positive, you write plus 2x. And then you multiply the last terms together. So what's 2 times 3? That gives you 6. Since it's positive, you write plus 6. After you've multiplied that all out, are there any like terms? Yeah, there should be. There's 2 like terms actually. There's the 3x and the 2x. So we're going to add those 2 like terms together and get 5x. So we end up getting x squared plus 5x plus 6. And that is how you FOIL. That's how you multiply two binomials together. You could also think about it as double distribution, if that helps. Okay, you're going to distribute the x to the x and to the 3. Then you're going to distribute the 2 to the x and the 3. Either way, FOIL or double distribution, whichever way it helps.
Who's the penguin's favorite R&B singer? Seal! Example time.
Example 1 says simplify each product. Write your answer in standard form. So we're going to FOIL or double distribute. We'll start by multiplying the first terms together. What's x times x? That's x squared. Then we multiply the outer terms together. What's x times 6? Well, that's 6x. So we write plus 6x. And then we multiply the inner terms together. What's 5 times x? That's 5x. And then we multiply the last terms together. What's 5 times 6? That's 30. So we write plus 30. Now there's 2 like terms in the middle, the 6x and the 5x. We add those together and we get 11x. So we get x squared plus 11x plus 30. Here, we are going to FOIL again. We multiply the first terms together. What's 2a times a? That's 2a squared. Then we multiply the outer terms together. What's 2a times negative 4? That's negative 8a. Then we multiply the inner terms together. What's 1 times a? That's 1a, or just positive a. So we write plus 1a. And then the last terms multiplied together, that's 1 times negative 4, so that's negative 4. So we're at minus 4 at the end. Now we combine like terms in the middle. What's negative 8a plus 1a? That's going to be negative 7a. So that goes in the middle. Boom, done.
What did the penguin hang over their baby's crib? A snowmobile! You try.
Okay, again, we're FOILing. So we take x, multiply it to the x. We multiply the first terms together. So x times x is x squared. Then we multiply the outer terms together. What's x times 7? That's 7x. We multiply the inner terms together. What's negative 7 times x? That's negative 7x. So we write minus 7x. And then what's our last terms multiplied together? Negative 7 times 7, negative 49. Now we combine like terms, positive 7x minus 7x, those actually cancel each other out, and we're left with x squared minus 49. Okay, this is actually a difference of squares. We'll talk about this more in the next section. Here, we're going to multiply our first terms together. So we multiply 3x times x, that's 3x squared. We multiply the outer terms together. What's 3x times negative 4? That's negative 12x. We multiply the inner terms together. What's 7 times x? That's going to be 7x. Then we multiply the last terms together. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. We combine our like terms here. Negative 12x plus 7x is going to be negative 5x. So this is our answer. Again, we're just FOILing. F.o.i.l. First, outer, inner, last. Example 2. Again, FOILing. So first, outer, inner, last. We start with our first. So what is our first terms multiplied together? 3h times 6h is going to be 18h squared. Then we multiply our outer terms together. What's 3h times negative 5? That's going to be negative 15h. Then we multiply our inner terms together. What's 2 times 6h? That's going to be 12h. And then what are our last terms multiplied together? That's 2 times negative 5, which is negative 10. We then combine our like terms in the middle. What's negative 15h plus 12h? That's negative 3h. So we have successfully FOILed. Here, again, FOILing. 4w. Multiply it to the 5w because we multiply the first terms together. So that's going to give you 20w squared. Then we multiply the outer terms together. What's 4w times negative 9? That's going to be negative 36w. Then we multiply the inner terms together. What's 13 times 5w? That's going to be 65w. And then last but not least, what are our last terms multiplied together? 13 times negative 9 is going to be negative 117. Now we combine our like terms. What's negative 36w plus 65w? That's going to be 29w. Perfect.
How do you find Will Smith in the mountains? Look for the Fresh Prince. You try.
Okay, foiling again. So we multiply the first terms together. What's 5z times 9z? That's going to be 45z squared. Multiply the outer terms together. What's 5z times 4? That's going to be 20z. Multiply the inner terms together. What's negative 3 times 9z? That's negative 27z. And then we multiply the last terms together. What's negative 3 times 4? That's going to be negative 12. We combine our like terms in the middle here. What's 20z minus 27z? That's going to be negative 7z. And you're done. Here, we have our foiling, so we're going to multiply the first terms together. What's 8c times 6c? That is going to be 48c squared. Then we multiply the outer terms together. What's 8c times negative 7? That's negative 56c. Multiply the inner terms together. What's negative 1 times 6c? That's going to be negative 6c. And then we multiply the last terms together. So what's negative 1 times negative 7? That's positive 7. So then we combine our like terms in the middle. Negative 56c minus 6c is going to make it more negative. So it's going to be negative 62c. We are done. Example 3. Doing the same thing, except this time we have a b squared here and a b squared here. So it works the exact same way. We are going to FOIL. We multiply the first terms together. So what's b squared times b squared? That's b to the 4th, actually. Then we multiply the outer terms together. What's b squared times 3? That's 3b squared. We multiply the inner terms together. What's negative 1 times b squared? That's negative b squared. And then we multiply the last terms together. What's negative 1 times 3? That's negative 3. Now, we combine our like terms, the b squared and the b squared. So what is 3b squared minus b squared? That's going to be positive 2b squared. Perfect. Done. Next, we are going to FOIL this. So we multiply the first terms together. So what is x squared y times 7x cubed? Well, we multiply the x's together. So when you multiply x squared times x to the 3rd, you add the exponent. So it's going to be x to the 5th power. So it'll be 7x to the 5th and then y. Now we multiply the outer terms together. So again, when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. So x squared times x to the 1st, that's going to be x to the 3rd power. And then y to the 1st times y to the 1st, that's going to be y to the 2nd power. Since this one's negative, this is positive, that's why this is minus x cubed y squared. Then we multiply the inner terms together. 5 times 7x cubed is going to be 35x cubed. And then 5 times negative xy is going to be negative 5xy. Sweet. Now, we combine like terms. Do we see any like terms here? So we have the same variables, but not to the same degree. So it doesn't look like we have any like terms. So this is what we're going to leave as our answer.
What do you call a nice penguin who talks crap behind your back? A snowflake. You try.
Okay, so we're foiling again. We multiply the first terms together. So we're multiplying p to the 3rd, q to the 2nd, times p to the 1st, q to the 1st. When you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. So p to the 3rd times p to the 1st is going to be p to the 4th. And then q to the 2nd times q to the 1st is going to be q to the 3rd. Then we multiply the outer terms together. Again, when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. So this q to the 2nd times q to the 3rd is going to be q to the 5th. So we get 7 p to the 3rd, q to the 5th. Then we're going to multiply the inner terms together. We're going to multiply this negative 4p times the p to the 1st, q to the 1st. So when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. So this p to the 1st times the p to the 1st is going to be p to the 2nd. So it's going to be negative 4 p to the 2nd, q to the 1st. Then we're going to multiply the last terms together. What's negative 4p times 7q to the 3rd. You multiply the negative 4 and the 7. You get negative 28. And it's going to be p to the 1st, q to the 3rd. Sweet. Now we combine like terms. Do any of these 4 terms have the same variables to the same degrees? No, they do not. So we're going to say that this is already in simplified form. So we just leave that as our answer. Next, we're going to FOIL over here. 7x cubed plus 8, we're going to multiply to 7x cubed minus 2. So multiply the first terms together. 7x cubed times 7x cubed is going to be 49. And then x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd, we add the exponents when we multiply like bases. So it's going to be x to the 6th power. Multiply the outer terms together. 7x to the 3rd times negative 2. It's going to be negative 14x to the 3rd. We multiply the inner terms together. 8 times 7x cubed is going to be 56x to the third power. And then last but not least, we multiply the last terms. 8 times negative 2 is going to be negative 16. Now we combine like terms. Are there any? Yeah, these two have the same variable to the same degree, so we're going to combine those. What's negative 14 plus 56? That's going to be positive 42. So we get our answer right here. Done. Example 4. This works the exact same way as what we were doing. The only difference is now it's not a binomial times a binomial, it's a binomial times a trinomial. So here's how this works. Anytime it's not a binomial times a binomial, foiling does not work. You don't FOIL anymore. You instead are going to double distribute. So when we're thinking about double distribution, we're going to start with this x and we're going to multiply it to each term in the trinomial. Then we're going to take the 2 and multiply it to each term in the trinomial. So let's start with the x. X times x squared is going to be x to the third power, because when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. Then we're going to multiply the x to the 6x. And what's x times 6x? That's going to be 6x squared. So we write plus 6x squared. Then we multiply the x to the negative 9. What's negative 9 times x? That's negative 9x. Sweet. Now we're going to do the 2. We distribute the 2 to each of these terms. So 2 times x squared is going to be 2x squared. 2 times 6x is going to be 12x. And then 2 times negative 9 is going to be negative 18. Sweet. Now all we have to do is simplify by combining like terms. So we'll start with this x cubed. No, doesn't look like there's anything to combine with the x cubed, so that's done. What about this 6x squared? Yeah, it has a like term over here with the 2x squared. So what's 6x squared plus 2x squared? That's 8x squared. What about this negative 9x? Yeah, we can combine that with the 12x. So negative 9x plus 12x is positive 3x. And then the negative 18, no like terms with that, so we just tack that on the end. We can't combine anything else, so we are done.
What did one penguin say to the other penguin? Nothing. She just gave him the cold shoulder. You try.
Okay, same thing here. We're going to use double distribution. So we're going to distribute the x to each term. So we distribute the x to the 2x squared, and we get 2x cubed. We distribute the x to the negative 5x, we get negative 5x squared. We distribute the x to the negative 6, you get negative 6x. Now we're going to distribute this negative 4 to each of the terms. So negative 4 times 2x is going to be negative 8x squared. We distribute the negative 4 to the negative 5x, and we get positive 20x. We distribute the negative 4 to the negative 6, and you get positive 24. Now we combine like terms. So in order to do that, we look. Does 2x cubed have a like term? No, that's the only x cubed, so we start with that. Then the negative 5x squared, can we combine that with anything? Yeah, the negative 8x squared. So what's negative 5x squared minus 8x squared? That's going to be negative 13x squared. The negative 6x, we can combine with the 20x. Negative 6x plus 20x is going to give you positive 14x. The 24 doesn't have a like term, so we just tack that on the end, and you're done. Sweet. Now, word problem says the groundskeeper of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin needs to reseed the turf before the season starts. In order to do that, she must first determine how many square yards the field is. The length of the field is 2x plus 5 yards. The width is x minus 2 yards. Find the area of the field. The first step in a word problem. We're not scared. We can do this. Second thing, we got to define our variables. So what is it asking us to find? It's asking us to find the area of the field. So area has to be one of our variables. Now there's got to be other variables, right? So in this problem, is there anything else we can use as a variable? Well, yeah, it says the length of the field is 2x plus 5 yards. So we'll say L is equal to the length of the field. And we could also label that over here because it gives us a value for that, 2x plus 5. So we'll write 2x plus 5 as the length of the field. It also says the width is x minus 2 yards. So we could say the width, W, is going to be another one of our variables. And we'll label that over here as well. Now we can write an equation based on what we know. Well, area of a rectangle is base times height, or length times width, right? So we'll say, in this case, area is equal to length times width. So length times width, we already know what those are, right? In the problem, it tells us that the length is 2x plus 5 yards and the width is x minus 2 yards. So we'll plug those in here. So we take 2x plus 5, plug it in for our length, take x minus 2, plug it in for our width. Perfect. So to find the area, all we have to do is multiply these two things together. So, if you recall, anytime you have a binomial times a binomial, you could either use double distribution or you can FOIL. So, let's FOIL. We're going to multiply the first terms together. 2x times x is going to be 2x squared. Multiply the outer terms together. What's 2x times negative 2? That's negative 4x. Multiply the inner terms together. What's 5x times x? That's 5x. And then our last terms together we multiply. 5 times negative 2, you get negative 10. Now we combine like terms. Are there any like terms? Yeah, in here we have the negative 4x and the 5x. If we add those together, we get positive 1x. Now we write our answer in the form of a sentence. The area of the field is 2x squared plus x minus 10 yards squared. Now notice how I say yards squared. That's because area has to be in square units.